So the parliamentary debate about digital identification has just taken place. I've just spent the last 3 hours watching it, going through it and writing notes about what happened. And genuinely, I think my faith in politicians has just been very slightly restored. And in this video, we're also going to talk about what could happen next. And I think this could be good news. So the first thing I want to say is this debate was actually an unlisted YouTube live stream. So to find it, you had to go through the government website and click it. You couldn't search for it on YouTube. It's also worth noting that when they opened up the debate, they noted that this is one of the most signed petitions in UK history. And also this is the most amount of people they've ever had in attendance for a debate. There were so many people there wasn't enough chairs for people to sit down in. But to be fair, at least the dog had a nice nap. So throughout the entirety of this debate, essentially what happens is each person from each political party gets a chance to talk about digital identification and their thoughts and feelings on it, as well as what their constituencies have said. I.e. you and me at home that email these parliamentary figures, they relay some of our thoughts and opinions about the matter in this debate. Now in total, there was around 40 people against digital identification. They were of the people talking, but in reality most of the people in that room were against digital identification. And the 5 people that were for digital identification, 4 of them raised concerns about digital identification. Only 1 was solely in support, and we'll talk about him later. Now very quickly, if you're looking for a fantastic VPN to help stay protected online, check out private internet access at the link down below. They don't keep any logs, and with that link or this QR code here, you can get yourselves 4 months free and 86% off. Now back to the video. Now as I've just said, pretty much every single person in the room was against digital identification being introduced, and there was a myriad of reasons raised and explained, and to be honest, they're all things that we've gone through on the channel before. They're really important points. Now we need to talk at this point about what the purpose of this debate is. This debate holds a few different purposes. Firstly, it's an exercise of a form of democracy. But it also allows different political parties to publicly voice their stance as a party on digital identification. But on top of that, it basically puts the Labour Party in a position where they have to defend the act to do it. Normally in cases when it comes to debate like this, the room is pretty split. You get arguments from both sides. In this case, every single political party overall was against the introduction of digital identification, like overwhelmingly so that it was actually not really a debate. It was basically the Labour Party getting embarrassed for 3 hours. Some of the questions that were raised by other parties were that if digital identification is so important to the future of the UK and Labour are so confident in implementing it, why was it never in their manifesto last year? Why is the first time we're hearing about it this year? And don't worry, we did get an answer session at the end, which we will talk about. Now, during the debate, we had people that were very, very angry about people in favour of digital identification. Actually led to a bit of a scenario inside the room.
The messenger must remove this person immediately. Don't just stand.
So that happened. But I want to fast forward to the end of the debate where we get our closing statements. Now, the opposition, i.e. the whole room, presented their points to a Labour Party MP about what their general issues are with digital identification, and more importantly, they closed off their speech by posing some questions. They wanted clear, concise information about how digital identification will work, how the data systems will work, what securities can be put in place to prove that it is actually something that can't be hacked. I think that comment was said in jest, but effectively the opposition to digital ID put together some brilliant arguments. So this brings us to the juicy bit, the really juicy bit. This is when a Labour MP stood up in front of everyone and basically gave his final closing speech, which lasted around 13 minutes. During that speech, he didn't answer any of the questions that had been presented in the previous 3 hours. He also did something else. Now, during this debate, people are allowed to interject. So for example, say if you're talking, saying your piece about digital ID, someone can raise their hand and you can pass it over to them for them to ask you a question. Now, this is a given. This is another right of respect that you give to their MPs in the room to allow them to voice their concerns and question your stance. The Labour MP, when talking about digital identification, point blank refused questions. In fact, at the very end, he was called out for this. Check this out.
Robbie Moore to wind up, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And there we have it. This is how the government of the day is going to be engaging with people. stating from the dispatch box that they are willing to listen but yet not take one intervention. And may I remind the Minister that members of Parliament in this House have been elected to represent their constituents, and over nearly 3 million petitioners who have signed this petition are not to have taken one intervention dealing with the matters that they have brought to them in this House is not only embarrassing for the Minister, but completely discourteous to the members of Parliament in this chamber. What a disgrace.
But it wasn't just the fact that the MP had actually refused questions altogether. It was the fact that he accused people in the room of being liars and lying about the concerns around digital identification. He essentially tried to diminish the opposition as being as a result of fear-mongering, not facts. Now, I do agree there is a lot of misinformation out there about why we should oppose digital identification, but that doesn't mean that he shouldn't answer any of the valid questions about digital identification. He used the excuse of there is some misinformation to basically avoid answering any questions about digital identification. He also explained that there won't be a centralized database, and where the data is stored, they'll make sure it's secure. And they'll do this by having strict firewalls. Fucking no idea. He then goes on to explain that they will build something that people want. Of course, that's ignoring the fact that 3 million people signed a petition saying they don't want it, but we'll just forget about that, won't we? And towards the end of his speech, this is where we get to the bit that I'm genuinely concerned about. He says that their plans to implement digital identification are non-negotiable. They're going to commit to doing this, and they're going to commit to doing it with the help of the British public to make sure all of the services that are included that are mandatory for digital ID are chosen by the British public. But of course, they've announced the right to rent, the right to work are all mandatory anyway, which weren't chosen by the British public. So what happens next, and what's going to happen here on out, and what do I expect the final result of this to be? Well, every single political party in the room, even the Labour Party, many MPs within the Labour Party are very active about this, they are against digital identification. I find it very unlikely and unbelievable that the Labour government, with this information about digital identification being known, with mass opposition from all constituencies, they are really going to struggle to implement this and get this passed as effective law, with this debate now being on record. To be clear, this debate doesn't overturn digital identification, but this debate acts as a cornerstone when legislation gets passed around it to reflect back on. So when it comes to the legislators coming up with the systems for digital ID and how it's going to be implemented, and also approving nearly £2 billion of our taxpayer money going into it, they're going to have to go through this debate and approve it, which isn't going to happen. I'm going to say with a fair degree of confidence at this point that digital identification won't get passed. I'm pretty sure of it based on the 3 hours of live debate that I've just seen. But as many people in that room explained, the Labour government are willfully happy to ignore what the British people want. They've done it on many occasions with things like the Online Safety Act. They've instituted regulation and policy without consulting with the people that make this country, the citizens of the country. So there is a general belief that the Labour Party will try and pass this legislation, but it is up to higher government powers that institute laws to go through this information and make those decisions on behalf of the Labour government. The Labour government can only get it so far. It's up to the actual legal system to decide how this is going to be instituted, and I don't think it will be. But for now, we'll just have to wait and see. I'm going to follow this through every single step of the way, as I have done so far, so make sure you're subscribed to keep up to date with all the latest information on it. Make sure to check out private internet access at the link down below to get yourself a fantastic VPN, and thank you so much for watching today's video. I shall see you all in the next one.